Alright, I'm sorry. This is an apology video from me to all the One Piece fans for doubting that the live-action adaptation was going to be a colossal disaster. I mean, I really couldn't believe I was watching a well-made, fun, non-cringy live-action of an anime with my own eyes. That too, an anime I'm not the biggest fan of. Long story short, I made a video when One Piece live-action trailer dropped saying my concerns on how they're gonna adapt a show like One Piece. A show that's borderline impossible to be a good live-action. But they somehow pulled off this wizardry, and this is probably one of, if not the best live-action anime adaptation out there. The only other live-action I can see coming close is Rurouni Kenshin adaptation, but that show's definitely way more grounded, so what they did with One Piece is still way more impressive work here. Adapting One Piece of all the animes and actually pulling it off is not an easy feat. You can actually see that the people who worked on this show actually cared about it instead of trying to make a souped up One Piece. The show captures the essence of the anime, and I really don't have any big issues with this live action in any way. To the point I would genuinely watch the entirety of One Piece like this if they adapted it. But sadly, that's of course not gonna happen. Now diving into the live action, one of my favorite things about it is the pacing. Don't get me wrong, the pacing here is not perfect by any means, and it can feel a bit rushed at times, but it's way better than the anime. One Piece anime pacing is
it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
To the point I wouldn't blame you for watching Subway Surfers gameplay while watching it. It really is one of the worst paced animes I've ever watched that I kept falling asleep when I was binging the anime. The anime just stretches out even the tiniest details like a seagull pooping on the deck, and it stretches it out to a solid 5-minute sequence for absolutely no reason.
I love this!
And that made the anime unwatchable for me. But in the live action, that's not a problem, and you'll never feel bored from any of it. And I was pressing the next episode button every time because watching the live action didn't feel like a chore. The live action adapts the story till the end of Arlong Park, which is around 50-ish episodes in the anime, and that's condensed into 8 1-hour-long episodes, and it works really well. As I said before, it's not completely perfect because some parts of it does feel a bit rushed, especially the Surf Village arc had quite a bit of character development for Usopp and their entire crew, so I would have loved to see that a bit more, but it's still way better than watching the anime because it's really a snooze fest over there. The next big dub for the live action is the casting choice. Wow, what an amazing cast of characters. Literally every single character played their part phenomenally, and I really have zero complaints in that department. I expected this to be a disaster because One Piece is an anime or a manga that has one of the most goofiest set of characters out there, so even attempting to translate that into a real life set is a huge deal, and these motherfuckers actually did it somehow. In my older video, I talked about how this is going to be a disaster because I believe making One Piece without cringe is impossible. But I was wrong because they got every character spot on without wanting us to turn off the TV. I was actually surprised to see them even swearing in the show, and that too not so lightly. They throw around shits and fucks a lot. Now there are some cheesy parts here and there, but adds to the charm of it instead of being a nuisance. A lot of it comes to the fact that Oda himself worked on the casting and direction of where this show is going, and I'm happy it all paid off. Now another amazing thing they did in the show is the setting. Everything that you see on screen is beautiful, and it looks like One Piece coming to life. All the ships are actually made in real life, and the sets all look great. Now the CGI is the only place where I feel like the show kind of falls off in certain places because it can feel pretty bad sometimes. In general, the CGI is not bad and is serviceable, but sometimes a very wonky anime moment happens on screen and the entire CGI breaks down. Now this is not going to take you out of the show or anything, but certainly does stand out as unpolished. In certain scenes it looks like the characters are floating on top of objects without proper shadows, and it can look bad, but still nothing to be worried of, and it's just a minor gripe. Other than that, I think most of the arcs are adapted pretty well. Barati was probably my favorite one because the set was so grand and beautiful, and it also introduced Mihawk, who's cool as fuck in this live action. Talking about that, I've always said I'm not a big fan of Luffy. I find him more annoying than anything, but in this live action, I think Luffy was actually pretty good because they toned toned him down to be a human without taking away the fun part, and that also made him more grounded. Both Zoro and Nami are also pretty similar to their anime counterparts, and as I said before, Usopp's character was also pretty good despite being a bit rushed. Sanji is also a bit more cheerful than I expected him to be, but he is also amazing here. Now, One Piece is a shonen anime, and shonens will have fighting and action. The problem with fighting in One Piece is Luffy's Gum Gum abilities, because they're pretty hard to replicate in real life, and you can see that shortcoming here and there because they try to animate it less and sometimes even try to get it off screen. And I understand why they're doing it, because it can look really weird if not done correctly, and most of the time the CGI is not winning any awards. But the fight scenes are not terrible, and it is what it is. Also, I'll just mention that the music and sound design was also pretty good. All the voice acting was also way better than the English dub in the anime too, I believe. I also love the One Piece title logo being themed to reflect the starting of a new arc, because it just looks extremely cool. Now, obviously the best thing they did with this live action is the fact they didn't try to copy the anime exactly and make it into a live action, because that wouldn't have worked. So they made the right changes accordingly, and I'm so glad they did. Now, in the story too, they've kept most of the things exactly the same, but there are still some differences that do matter. Like, a couple of characters are not explained, and some plot points that are revealed way later are revealed earlier. These are not huge problems and won't bother most new people watching, and for people who have watched One Piece, this is not a news, so it's not a problem at all. All in all, I really could not have asked for a better live action adaptation than this from an anime that I believed was going to be borderline impossible to become a good live action. But hey, I was wrong, and I'm just gonna wait for more. Thanks for watching this video. Comment down below if you like this live action or not. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you love my content. And that's about it. See ya.